Welcome to the Stanley Street Social presented by MAP. My name is Alex Clements. I'm here with Max Gawn and Campbell Flakemore. If you do need some new kit, MAP have just released a couple of new collections, one for up north, the Northern Hemisphere, some winter kit, and also some fresh new colours and designs for summer kit down here as it starts to heat up in Australia. Welcome, gents.
Thanks, Alex. Campbell. I actually, I have just recently purchased the purple MAP top, which I think is their new summer collection.
Yep, spot on. Has it arrived?
It has. I rode with it around the hills down the peninsula on Saturday.
And it performed?
The top definitely did. My legs didn't. I did 87 kilometres it was in the end, and the last sort of 15, I was on an empty stomach, and the last 15 sort of cooked me. I was fighting with my bike a bit, but I felt good going up Arthur's Seat and a bit of the back roads around Shoreham and Flinders, and just cooked it at the end.
How much? So, am I correct in saying you don't ride it all year, and then you jump back on the wagon?
Yes, I jump back on the outdoor bike wagon outside of season. In season, I do get on the watt bike a bit. And now, thanks to Zwift, my good friends at Zwift, I have the Wahoo at home now, so I don't have to worry about getting back on the watt bike, which I'm pretty happy about, to be honest.
Yeah. What? How long do you have off, and what does it look like training-wise?
Got till January 6th. We're already pretty hardcore into our running. Darren Burgess has got us going, doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, probably roughly 12 to 15K sessions already. So they're pretty hardcore at the moment. I think we'll ease up in December. And I'm also doing the Hunger Ride cycling-wise, which is 177 kilometres. Around up Mount Buffalo and Stanley from memory. So I've been training a little bit for that because I don't want to embarrass myself going up Mount Buffalo, it could be a climb for me, to be honest, because I think it averages around 5.5% over 15, 16K. So I might just be able to grind my way up rather than Arthur's Seat on the weekend. That hits 10%. I almost went backwards.
177 sort of 177, you can't really just rock up on the day. That's sort of the mileage. You need a little bit under.
Well, I rocked up. My last big ride I did was 3 peaks down your neck of the woods, Campbell, at Cradle Mountain.
Yeah.
And I just rocked up. It was 2 weeks after the season, so I didn't do much cycling going into it, and I did a walk for 3 weeks after. And just came in with the last marshal, the 12-hour marshal. I was just hanging on. The sag wagon wanted me.
Very good. So today on the podcast, we're going to run through, do a review of the year. We're going to run through each squad, give them a ranking, talk about their wins, their losses, give them any free feedback if they're deserving of it. And if you do have any questions or comments, or we want to hear your ranking, please put in the chat.
Yeah.
AG Tour Le Mondial. I'm going alphabetical. That's what I've got on my list. AG Tour Le Mondial.
I'm worried about how many professional cyclists that I've seen either watching your show or have been on your show. So I'm going to pull my head in a little bit with my feedback, I think.
No, I think it's taken well. That's why they keep coming back. 5 wins.
We only dip in when it's deserved, I think.
Yeah, and I don't think you haven't had a CC rider, I don't think.
I don't think so. And like I said, we do have our favourites, but there's reasons for that.
Yeah.
We might have a bit to talk about here to kick things off with AG Tour Le Mondial. 5 wins for the year. What are our thoughts on this squad?
Well, Roman leaving is probably the big news from there, but they have found one in Cosnoir.
Mm-hmm.
Was able to stay with the big dogs at times in some of the classics, and obviously had the polka dot jersey for a while in the Tour. So I think they can hang their hat on Cosnevoire's performance this year, personally.
Nans Peters with a stage win. Huge for a French squad.
5 wins, but one of them being a Tour de France stage win. That's really, if you win a stage at the Tour de France, that's almost your season saved. So it's a massive win and it adds up for a lot. But like Max said, it's probably a lot about Cosnefoire next year. They've also got GVA, Youngles, O'Connor coming in. So some good winners coming in. But overall, if you just look at it, 5 wins, it's not a massive year. It's a slow year.
A huge shift, Classics focus next year, as you mentioned. And for the first time since 2012, they won't have Romain Bardet there. It's a long time swinging for him at the French races. What do you give him out of 10?
Did Oliver Nason do anything this year?
Nothing of serious note.
Not really.
Always active, very active, always there in the selections, but nothing really to write home about, nothing to show for it. So hopefully next year him and GVA can sort of do the 1-2 punch in some big classics. I think they're actually quite good buddies, so that might work well.
I think they were active and present enough. Cosnefoire in every single break in the Tour. Peters almost in every single break. In the where was he? The Giro, and Cosnefoire again in the classics. Bardet early on in the year, I think he did do well on the Tour de Alps or something like that. So they're good enough for me. I'd give them 5 out of 10.
Yeah,
I'd say 5 too.
Campbell?
What did you have, Alex?
I had 5 written down as well. 5 wins, 5 points, and okay, yeah, 5 points. Mostly gained by the Tour de France victory.
Yeah, if you take that out, they're probably looking at a 3.
Yeah. Team Astana 2020, an interesting year. What are your thoughts on their year, Max?
Active. Vlasov early. And obviously Fuglsang, I forget which, it was a Lombardi, potentially, that they were in a finish with George Bennett. The 3 of them were together. So they were exciting, and they always are during that classics with Jacob Fuglsang. Jakob, sorry. But he was poor in the Giro. Vlasov, after the form I saw in the Volta, if he went to the Giro, would have potentially given that a shake. And I'm sure he's kicking himself I think it was getting ill in stage 1. And Lopez was really good up until tanking in the time trial. So I'm not sure how their budget would be one of the higher teams, Alex, would they?
I think, they've got a pretty good pot of cash over there.
Yeah. I think that's quite important to reference the budgets. I've actually got it here. 17 million euro for Astana.
Yeah.
And where does that rank?
It's about middle-ish, middle to upper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Ineos at the top with 46, and Israel this year. I'm considering. I think next year they're going to go significantly higher, but this year was only 8 reported. So, yeah. I don't know. Astana 15 wins, Lombardia, 2 stages of the Tour, stages of the Vuelta. It's solid. I'll probably again maybe a 5.5, 5.8.
I'd go slightly higher. I'd go a 6.
Yep.
Yeah. I've got a 6 written down. Lopez sliding off the podium of the Tour hurts. And he's also not on their team sheet for next year as of yet. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But Vlasov has come to the party as a bit of a youthful GC rider. So
yeah, I'm relatively bullish about Vlasov. That was. I mean, I know I put him second in my top 3, and I was thinking big things. It wasn't really there in the first week of the Volta, but geez, he was there in the last 10 days. So
Yeah.
I reckon they should put all chips in. Blasov.
Yep. Just touch on it. Listener comment. AG Tour, much more next year. Agree. Adam, Understand, underperformed. Yeah, it was okay. Bahrain McLaren. They had Mikel Landa over to the squad, leading at the tour. He had a good tour, fourth, solid tour. Would you call that a good tour?
Well, I think we probably had like a top 5 as a pass. But, I mean, really a podium's the only thing that the people remember. So maybe it's not, but their season, it was pretty slim, to be fair. Just the 9 wins, a stage of Paris-Nice, a stage of the Giro, and then 4th of the Tour, and then some bits and pieces in between. But I think for them going forward, just looking at this group of 4 that they got now, Jack Haig going over there, Landa, Poles, and Caruso. There's a nice little core of climbers that they've got there. So if they can string a few things together next year, and they've got Rod Ellingworth at the helm as well with that Ineos background, I think there's a nice future there brewing at Bahrain, as far as I can see.
Wout Poles, again, very exciting during the Volta. I think rode closer to Primoz's wheels than Mikel did in the Tour. So I'm not sure if you're all chips in Mikel anymore. And I mean, Bilbao was super during the Giro off the back of the Tour. I'm not sure. They don't look like they're going to be GC next year, but they could really light up with a few stage wins if they drop back. Unlike the Tour when they all held on to 10th, 11th, and 12th for some reason. And of course the Cav. Who knows where he'll be next year? I don't think it's going to be Bahrain.
No longer for Cavendish. Must free up a little bit of cash in that budget of theirs. Bilbao also impressing. So I think a solid GC squad. But is there a winner in there? Is there a Tour de France winner? Is there a Giro winner?
I don't know.
Well,
or is it more?
Are they top 5? Are they top 5 in all 3? Were they top? Poles was definitely. He was 6, I think.
Yeah, he's 6.
From memory.
Yeah.
Bilbao would have been sitting around 5th in the Giro, and Landa would have been right there.
4th, yeah. So yeah, you're right. They're all around the mark, but there's that big jump between 4th and 5th and winning these things. So yeah, to answer Alex's question, do they have a winner? I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether Jack Haig's been brought in as someone that they're going to try and develop into a GC winner. Hopefully for Australia, yes, but he's yet to really have a dip at a 3-week race in his own right.
Disappointing classics. Colbrelli and Dylan Toons weren't really there at all, to be fair.
Agreed. Yeah. Ranking Alex, again, neither here nor there. A 5. Is that stiff? I don't know.
I'm favouring 3 top 10 GC finishes in, but all 3 tours. So I'm going to go 6.5.
A flat 6. It was okay. But as you said, Campbell, no one remembers 4th, 6th, 9th. It looks okay in the Palmares looking back, but
it'd be great to have on the Palmares, and it's respected. But if you're in the history books, it's about the podiums. It's about the wins. So
yeah. Next up, Borah Hansgrove. 21 wins. A pretty significant year for me, considering Sagan wasn't dominant. He wasn't wild.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but he only won one of those 2021.
Yeah, it was a really good win.
I think
what a one.
Yeah, it's a good one to have. But I think the most exciting part for them is there was 8 separate winners. So they got their 21 wins from 8 different guys, and you look at their list, it's like Kamna, Ackerman, Sharkman,
Conrad.
Wins? Yeah, Conrad. So it's like it's super exciting for them going forward, and stage of the TDF, Paris-Nice, 2 at the Vuelta, 1 at the Giro, 1 at the Dauphiné, 2 at Torino. So they're winning big ones. And like we said off the top, Sagan wasn't really involved this year on those wins. So yeah, I think it's a really exciting place to be going if you're a rider. And Wilco Kelderman's heading there next year. I'm not sure what that means for him or them. It's a talking point, but very solid for mine.
I'm pretty sure Schachmann won something pre-COVID. Paris-Nice, maybe.
I think so.
He was pretty hot in those Tour de France lead-up stages, races.
Yeah. In fact, they were all good around their 2 leaders. So Buchmann and Sagan were slightly disappointing. But outside of them, Groschnader, we just saw. Kamna looks like he's going to light the Tour next year. So and Rafael Majka and Conrad, there's guys that are always going to be lieutenants in the hills if they're able to get Kelderman to be able to ride 3 weeks. But yeah, Kamna's up there with one of my breakouts of the season, so he sort of saves Borah a tiny bit.
I did also have a.
Marcus heading to UAE next year.
Is he?
Yeah, so to go and help Tadej, you'd think, in the mountains, similar role.
I did also have down that although they only picked up one stage of the Tour, they were awfully present at the Tour. It was lots of chatter. They were throwing it down for Sagan, and although he didn't deliver, the team was pretty spectacular.
We were talking about them every day because they were going for every stage, like you wouldn't believe.
I've given them a 7.
They keep they keep just having too many focuses. So Sagan wants them to chase down, and Buchmann and his GC boys don't want to do it, or Majka and Conrad don't want to do it, and it just becomes messy. And then Ackermann again was sort of lost within Groschnader's chase for GC. But I'm very happy with some of the performances. I'm 6. They're slightly less off than Bahrain for mine.
I just think, with the volume, the 21 wins and wins at big races, I think a 7 is good.
I think to your point, Max, that Giro stage where Sagan was trying to get them to ride, and yet his GC boys just saying, nah, not really today, sums up their challenges with their ambitions for victory. The next team, they've talked about them a lot. It's unfortunate they're leaving the World Tour. They're leaving cycling. You've got roots with that squad, Campbell, CCC. They picked up a World Tour win. Just.
We talk about them all the time. Often for the wrong reasons. Not really delivering on what was expected. It was the old BMC, who was a squad that was elite, according to my source here, which was I think it was like the Het Nieuwsblad article during the Tour de France. They've got the 3rd biggest budget with 21 million euro.
Jeez.
So to deliver only 9 wins, only 1 World Tour win at the Giro, it's super disappointing. And I mean, no one likes to see a team go by the wayside, but in a results sort of business, you can see why it didn't quite work out for them.
Yeah, it was almost. GVA and Trenton would be right up there as 2 of the highest paid cyclists in the peloton, and their classics performance. I mean, Trenton gave the green jersey a little shake, although no one really knew what he was doing because he wasn't in the finishes. He was just going for the intermediate points.
Yep.
Ilna gave us a lot of entertainment, and I hope he stays in the peloton. Zakarin, he's entertaining. I think he is staying in the peloton. I think he's got a deal already. I read that somewhere.
Yeah, I think he was with a Russian Pro Conti team, perhaps.
Yeah, he's going
almost
back to
like Gazprom or whatever.
Yeah, he's going back to Gazprom.
Almost got another stage win with Will Barter, very unluckily running into a very hot Primoz. But yeah, there's not much when you there's only 20 days of racing left. I think when they got their stage win.
Just looking at their list from this year, in the comments, Adam Sims, no real reason for CCC not to perform. I do agree a little bit, but at the same time, where's the real horsepower in the squad besides GVA and Trenton? I know they're two massive riders, but where are the other wins coming from? I know Paddy Bevan's had some good results in the past, and Demarki's been fringe.
Well, we normally see Demarki or Geschke up in the breaks, don't we?
But I mean, they're both 34 now. You know what I mean? They're getting on just a little bit. I know Richie Port was 35 when he got on the podium at the Tour de France, but it's just a squad that doesn't really excite you with a lot of names. Maybe I'm being harsh. That's just what I'm seeing in front of me.
That's fair.
I'm interested to see how GVA goes. You know, we're big fans of him here at the Stanley Street Social, and I hope that he goes to AG2R and just gets a couple of big wins just for his career, just to go out on a high. If he finishes on CCC's 2 years, I'll be disappointed.
You know, the problem for him is that he's going to have to beat Mathieu and Wout van Aert in his races, so it's not going to be easy.
Ranking?
You can't. I mean, someone has to be a 1, don't they?
And there's a few more ones I think coming right up, but
I gave them a 2 because they got a World Tour win.
The Giro win saves them. I think a 2 as well.
All right.
That is all of those points is the 2, and a little bit of credit for GVA and Trenton for entertaining us for 2 years, going head to head at every race. No one has raced harder or against a competitor in a more fierce manner than those two. So it was good to see.
And
I
like the look of their bikes. I'm a big fan of their bikes.
Okay.
I think they ride the giant TCRs, which are great bikes.
Is that a sponsor plug?
I could chuck in some more if you
want. Cofidis.
Oofed.
Ooh la la. Viviani hot off a quick step. A couple of big years of quick step. Comes into the squad and delivers nothing.
They're without a stage win, aren't they?
They won 2 races this season.
Bernard won something earlier. Not Bernard, what's his name? Perez.
Yeah, and they also won a stage at La Tropical Amisa Bongo in Africa in January. So as a world tour team, it's probably not enough. Just for reference, their budget was 18 million euro for the year, and to deliver 2 wins like that, I'm sure Elia was getting paid a fair chunk of that 18. Super disappointing. They haven't won a stage of the Tour de France since 2008, I'm pretty sure. Sylvain Chavanel was riding for him at the time. But one thing I have noticed with these French squads, AG2R, FDJ, and Cofidis, sponsors are rock solid. They're not going anywhere fast. I know AG2R are sponsored up until 2025. I think FDJ are 2024. So these French teams have some nice backing. So maybe results don't matter for them.
Can you one of you explain to me why Confidence sponsor the Volta if they're a French team?
Can't explain that to you.
Can't explain that.
No.
I will lead you to the ranking points for the individual riders this year. Guy Martin is top 5.
So in saying all that,
point I had down.
Guillaume did have a good season.
It was very good pre-tour. I think it might have been the Criterium.
Yeah, 3rd at the
potentially.
Criterium.
Yep. Yeah, and then obviously the Polka Dots, which was almost uncontested.
Yeah.
At the Volta, but at least he was in most breaks.
Yeah, I think it's nice to have him going forward. I think next year they can probably go into races with him as a genuine chance to get some W's in that win column, because 2 in a season it's not great.
Ranking?
1.8.
So they're slightly higher at CCC purely because one of their riders did something. So I'm going to go 2.
2. I gave him a 2.5. I think Guillaume Martin's performance this year was good. I enjoyed it. But Viviani,
his brother was better.
oh dear. Yeah. Meanwhile, over at De Koenig, they've picked up 39 victories this year in a shortened season. 39 wins. It even started in Australia on the winning race Torquay and Cadell's race. Like this team just never stops winning. They never stop winning.
Yeah. 11 of those were World Tour. But I think the wildest part about all this is, and I know it was a shortened season, etc., but since 2012, they've had every season 50 or more victories. So this is the least amount of wins they've had in a season for 8 years. Obviously, the shortened season, is part of the reason why. But like, that's just incredible, isn't it? Just a team that just wins so much with so many different riders. And if we go forward to next year, we've got our Philippe in the World Championship jersey, Almeida and Remco, who are going to be just tag teaming it next year. I think we can probably see them go north of 50 again.
Mm-hmm. That's the other point. They established as a GC squad.
Oh. I mean, and also their classics. They're always going to be competitive in classics.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see Remco, what he does. And I'm also interested, on a side note, how the calendar looks. I actually didn't mind it as much this year, having the classics as lead-ins for Grand Tours and stuff like that. But and obviously Sam Bennett was, if you did a sprint against Caleb, Arnaud Demar and Sam Bennett right now, I'm not sure who wins, to be fair. They're the 3 hot sprinters at the moment, and Bennett deserves that. He was a bit tired there at the end of the Volta. Not sure the update on Jacobsen. Do you have an update on Jacobsen?
I think he's in the firing line of a 9-month ban, which I think will be backdated. But yeah, so they'll probably see him out till, I don't know when the incident was, August. So at least sort of to the European spring.
Yeah.
Grunewagen's out. Jacobsen's okay, I think, from all reports. But it's going to be a long recovery.
Yeah. Grunewagen's in the line of the ban.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely forgot about guys like Bennett, and then their whole classic squad. None of them are like, you don't have like a Van der Poel or a Van Aert, but just the collective. When they work together, you never know who's going to win. So yeah, look out.
Remco just absolutely ripping it at the start of the year as well, or start of the second season before his unfortunate crash. It's exciting times. Patrick does it again, and the future's looking bright.
The very last classic of the year, which you guys might be able to better at pronouncing than me, but the one where they finished 1-2, Lampard won.
Yes.
Not classic. It was a one-day race.
It was meant to be the 3 days of Depana, but it was just the 1 day of Depana.
Yeah, and they literally looked unstoppable. I think they had 4 in the top 10 or something.
Yeah, a proper quick step display, the filthiest day possible, and then they were all there in the front.
Is De Koenig quick step the only way you win if you're not Wout van Aert? Wout van Aert or what's his name? Forgets me. Mathieu. If you're not Mathieu or Wout van Aert, can you win if you're not on the Koenig quick step in the Spring Classics and the hot 1 day races?
Well, there's one coming. I mean, he's already come from Team Sunweb. I'm not sure if he's as quick as them, but I just think he's like Hershey. Hershey just seems like he's got something.
Yeah, I mean, in those Ardennes, I think Hershey's become a genuine threat. But I'm
not sure if he beats him in a one-off sprint though.
But for the cobbles, I don't know, Alex. I think it's pretty hard to beat those 2 boys, and then quick step with their numbers: Asgreen, Lamparts, Alaphilippe, et al. maybe with the AG2R sort of group coming together, maybe they might be able to provide a little bit of a threat. But I know I'd either want to be one of those two cyclocross boys or a part of De Koenig if I was going for the cobbles in 2021.
Mm-hmm. And as Adam points out, it's we only just briefly touch on Almeida, even though his performance was out of control at the Giro. Unfortunately, get a bit lost in that squad of their victories. What are we giving them out of 10 for their performance of 2020?
Clean 9.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point from Adam Almeida. And then they all rode as domestiques. All these classic kings started riding as domestiques for Almeida. Just imagine if they're winning I mean, we saw it with Alaphilippe, but imagine if they're leading the tour. I'll give them a 9 as well. Actually, no, they were better than Jumbo for mine. 10.
10. Yeah, they also got a world championship in there as well, and really unlucky at Flanders not to have Alaphilippe right in the mix too.
And
I'll
also
give him a 9.5.
Alaphilippe getting DQ'd and celebrating early at Liège.
Yeah. I gave him a 9.5, and the half a point was off because of the Liège/Flanders incidents.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a perfect year. 10 points. EF Education, a team that we've grown to like. Initially, in the early days, we're quite targeted in our insults, but I'm on board the EF train. What do you think of their season?
Last year really came alive in the classics, and we all sort of jumped on their wagon. And then we sort of had to wait for a grand tour all the way to the Volta, to be fair. Martinez was injured and disappointing in the tour. And Rigoberto was probably not to his best as well, but Hugh Carthy lit up the last grand tour and could potentially have a team riding for him in the future. Michael Woods, unfortunately, was injured through the first half of the year, but he looked good at the end as well. Exciting team. Just wasn't as good in their classics this year, though.
17 wins for them is huge. 8 of those being World Tour. Stage of the Tour de France, 3rd at the Vuelta on the GC, and 3 stages at the Vuelta, and they had 1 at the Giro. So they're all massive wins. And like Max said, Hugh Carthy, someone super climber, and he can also put in a really good TT as well. So he got a red hot crack at it. Michael Woods is heading to Israel next year to go help Froome. So yeah, and Martinez is heading to Ineos. So that leadership role could really open up for Carthy.
And they did the best team kit activation of 2020 with the Giro that we're all talking about.
Won a stage in it early, didn't they? We got Casido.
Guerrero, was it as well? Yeah. They went 2. Yeah, they won 2 at the Giro. Yeah. And then the Martinez one at the Tour de France. Yeah, good year. And you know what? I'm not sure if you listen to the Grey Cricketer podcast, but they talk about the right type of runs, and winning stages in Grand Tours is the right type of victories. Yeah. So you got to take that into consideration. So I'm probably going to give them an 8.8. That's a really good year for them.
And it all comes down to one of the domestiques who was able to do the Tour and Volta without getting on the TV once, in TJ Van Garden. I think he rode, I don't know how many days it is, about 40 days of Grand Tour riding and not once on the TV. But I'm going to give him a 7. Just it's slightly disappointed in the one-day stuff this year. But Hugh Carthy definitely lifted them back up to a 7.
I'm giving him an 8. Impressive team performance. Groupama FDJ. Interesting year. One side of the spectrum, it was rocket hot, and the other side, it was super disappointing. I'm referring to Arnaud Demar picking up multiple stage wins. I think I've got down here 14 out of the 20 wins on Arnaud's name. And of course, also the creation of their sprint team, which looks like it's really starting to come together well. On the other hand, Thibaut, awfully disappointing.
Yeah, they've got a big decision to make what they do at the Tour de France next year. I think it's probably clear what they're going to do. I think they're probably going to go all in for Demar. The way that like you said, the sprint group worked at the Giro, and 14 victories. I mean, that's I think it was the most by anyone in the World Tour this year. So disappointing for Pinot. I think he's probably past it in terms of going for genuine GC at the Tour de France, probably. But yeah, if you got a guy like Demar there that's won 14 races, I think you go all in for him at the Tour de France next year.
It's the changing of the guard. David Gaudu. I think they can ride the Tour. They can ride the Tour with 5 men for Arnaud Demar, and then just have Gaudu and a Reichenbach or something like that, potentially, and just send Pinot to the Giro potentially. I think David Gaudu. I don't want to put much pressure on him, but France might actually have someone who finishes in the group over the horse category climbs.
Would you take Pinot as well to maybe help Gaudu or throw Pinot in there to go for stages? I still think he can provide value just doing his own thing.
Yeah, potentially. And I mean, what we're looking at with the Tour next year is it's going to be probably the biggest cycling race for a long time, with fans back. Hopefully COVID has got France back to normal. So you probably do want your biggest sell card maybe at the Tour. But you got to be all in for Arnaud Demar because, like I said, he's top 3 sprinters. And to be fair, with that lead-out train, that probably beats Caleb and Bennett.
Score?
That's hard, isn't it?
Tricky one, isn't it? I mean, you take out Demar from the Giro and you're probably looking at a 2 or a 3, but we're not. He won 4 stages. He had 14 victories for the season. So it's probably a 7.7, 7.8 for me. It was a really solid year.
I'm happy with a 7. Gaudu and Demar are in my top sort of 20 for the year. So I think they sit on a 7.
Yeah.
Do you want to touch
agree.
on Gaudu anymore before we wrap that bit up, Max?
Yeah, I mean, gamble responsibly, of course. I had a hot Volta, and David Gaudu for both stages. I punted on him 3 times, and he got there for me twice. So that's my love for David Gaudu as well.
Financial investment as well, not just emotional.
Correct.
Ineos Grenadiers, Tour favourites. That went pear-shaped, but they salvaged it with a stage win and then absolutely cleaned up the Giro.
And second at the Vuelta as well.
Pretty good year. A pretty disappointing start.
They're always going to be judged on the Tour de France, aren't they, though? As, you know, given their history of winning it so many times, people expect them, and with their budget and with, you know, the whole protocol, it's all about the Tour. But to do what they did, to regroup, to go and win the Giro, to get second at the Vuelta, win 6 stages of the Giro, and they now have the ITT World Champ. Next year, they've got Port, Yates, De Plus, Pidcock, and Martinez all being added to the army. They're going to be coming in red hot for the Tour de France. And they also got 19 wins this year as well. So it wasn't like it was a really bad one for them. But look out for them at the Tour de France next year. They're going to be so strong. They've got so many riders to choose from.
I wonder how they would rate themselves. I reckon they'd potentially give themselves a fail without winning a Grand Tour. Sorry, yes, the Giro. So Bernal is going to be
the Grand Tour.
the Grand Tour. Bernal is going to be an interesting case next year. It all leads to how Egan's feeling. I think if he's feeling not great, Carapaz, Martinez, these sort of guys, Gegenhardt, can really light up some stages. I'm disappointed with Kwiatkowski this year. Maybe getting a tad old, is he? I don't know. It's a bit harsh.
He I guess got a bit lost because he didn't have a team leader, but he did pick up a stage.
Yeah, I'm more talking when he was trying to hold on to Alaphilippe, Van der Poel, and Van Aert in the classics. He was sort of the fourth or fifth best rider in that group. But
New
yeah,
kids on the block.
There's new kids on the block, and Kwiatkowski's probably back to super domestique. Rowan Dennis and Philip Garner, geez, that's it. They're impressive. It's an 8 for me.
I think it's an 8 as well, but I just do want to touch just on how on earth you picked that squad for the Tour de France next year. Just with the guys that I said that in, plus the guys that are already there. You need to throw some rulers in the squad as well. Dennis and Garner were just the best in the business at the Giro. Where does that leave Luke Rowe? Yeah.
Well, Dennis is now a late in the piece mountain climber.
Yeah,
He's no longer in the ruler category. Yeah.
Geez, imagine if they just put in a team time trial at the Tour. They'd win it by a minute.
No triple T, but a lot more individual time trialing in the last few years, I'm pretty sure.
Luca on YouTube says, bet Egan Bernal won't be the GC man next year. We haven't even talked about Geraint Thomas. Imagine the pressure going into that tour as the leader with the inventory that you have behind you.
No,
the squad just...
I think they'll be doing a two-prong attack. So whoever they take out of Carapaz and Bernal to the Tour, they'll also have Gegenhardt and Sivakov, or one of the other. So they've always got that second...
That Sivakov.
Yeah, they've also got that second man. They're all Martinez. So one of Carapaz and Bernal will lead the Tour, but they'll have Gegenhardt, Sivakov, or Thomas, or someone like that as their backup.
Sure, it'll be a big talking point in the lead up to the Tour next year.
We'll be able to do a whole podcast on their Tour selection and the different numbers you can probably run. Did we all give them 8? 8 out of 10?
Yep.
Yeah, 8. 8, I think.
Out of my Facebook, 8 out of 10. Solid. Israel Startup Nation. No Tour win. Not huge amounts of wins, but they did pick up a Giro and a Vuelta stage. And
finished like the house on.
And Martin,
they've got, yeah, exactly. And they've got Froome coming in next year. Froome and friends. There's a lot of people accompanying him.
You just look at the ins, and it just strengthens. It just looks like a stronger squad. Froome, Impey, Woods, Paddy Bevan, Demarchi, Sepp Van Mark. It's a bit of experience, I guess. And then some young Australian boys come in as well, Seb Berwick and the big sprinter Taj Jones. So exciting squad, I think, to be following next year compared to the previous years. Just been, they've probably been that last World Tour team that have got on the list of World Tour teams. But I think next year they're going to, going to be the pointy end. I think hopefully Froome can come back to his best, but I don't know. I don't know whether he will.
Any news on Andre Greipel?
Andre's on the start list. Is he not? 2021 squad. Andre Greipel at the age of 38.
Good on him.
Provide a bit of mentoring to Taj.
If he makes the Tour, there has to be an inquiry into that.
I think we'll probably be spearheading the inquiry.
He's the official lead of Gruppetto.
But do you honestly think that Froome can get back to his best of 5 years ago?
I think the best of what he is right now, with the form he can get in, is better than what Dan Martin could bring potentially. So I'd say Froome is genuine GC man there. And I'd say there's a top 5 there somewhere in one of the tours.
How about for Seb Berwick, 20 years of age, turning pro World Tour with Israel Startup Academy. Turned World Tour last year with Israel. It's a bit Gawn. Next year, at the age of 20, is he going to be in Froome's Tour de France squad?
I think you'd probably say no now, but things can change pretty quickly. But yeah, I'd definitely be rather going to Israel this year than last year as a first year pro. But yeah, definitely exciting for him just to be around some of the names that I listed off before. Froome and Impey, just super experienced. Van Mark, so it's a good place to go and learn.
Yeah. So their 2020 season, what do we give them?
4.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, 5. Stage win at the
6.
Giro and the Vuelta is good. I guess for what we expected.
Yeah.
Mm.
They had low levels of expectation.
Dowsett's win at the Giro. But that was a break that was given 15 minutes. With not extremely household names, but he did better than what I could have done. So there was a bit of pressure on that stage, and they had 2 in the break as well.
They did, yeah. Brandel was in the break as well, so they did well to deliver, and yeah, got more stage wins than a team that we're going to touch on in a couple of teams.
Can't wait.
Mitchelton Scott, national championships tick. Started the year with a big box tick for them. TDU went a bit missing, and then showed a lot of promise at Torino. Yates was good. Lucas Hamilton picked up a stage win, but it never really converted.
Getting booted out of the race re-coronavirus doesn't help either for them.
Just remember there's another Ineos rider in Adam Yates.
Yep.
Exactly.
16 wins for them, but none of them being no Grand Tour stage wins for them.
Yeah.
Which again, I'm talking about. That's the right sort of runs, Grand Tour stage wins, and if you don't get any of those, you're gonna have to win a lot of other races to make up for it. And overall, I think it was a pretty quiet year for them as a team.
They threw everything at it in the Volta. Dion Smith and Rob Stannard and Schultz, they were getting in every single break.
Yeah.
That's you feel for them.
They've got those riders that are in their stocks going forward.
Can we officially put a line for anyone saying Esteban Chavez is in our top 3 again?
Yes.
I think so. I don't think there's going to be a Doco part 2.
No.
I
get he's unlucky and his chain falls off or his puncher or whatnot in key parts, but
you were hard on him in the pre-Vuelta pod, but with good reason. The proof is in the pudding.
They were going for this weird 2-prong attack that I heard them say. They were for 2 leaders in Mikel and Esteban, and they ended up Mikel and Esteban in the Gruppetto and the other 6 riders they brought in the break.
Lucas Hamilton signed a 2-year deal though, which is exciting for Australia. He was when we didn't even know Teo and him were genuine GC chances. Those two were flying off the front early in the Giro before they were booted. So there's something in that.
Yeah.
Score-wise though.
Score-wise, listen, 5, I think.
Yeah, I think a 5 does. They're very similar to AG2R for mine.
Yeah, I gave him a
Matthews
4.
Inbound as well for 2021, which is exciting for them.
Yep. This next one's going to be good.
Did you miss a squad? Did you miss a squad, Alex? Have you missed a Lotto Sudal? If you're going
Yeah, I have.
alphabetical. Yeah.
We'll go back to Lotto Sudal. We'll leave that other squad for a sec. Lotto Sudal. Caleb talks about 2 win. You win at the tour, and then it's just a massive tick. He got 2.
Mm-hmm.
He was.
That's basically where you leave the Lotto's year, isn't it?
I was giving Wellens a bit of heat for not doing a whole lot. I was giving Wellens a bit of heat for not doing a whole lot pre-Welter, and he's picked up 2 stage wins. So, full credit.
Yep. And again, good wins, 2 of the tour, 2 of the Welter. That's 4 out of your 12 at Grand Tours. It's a good return. So, 12 wins for the whole season, but throw Gelderpreis in there as well. Big one-day race. So, yeah, good. Neither here nor there. I think it's probably a 7 for them. Two stage wins at the tour always is good value though. You take that at the start of the year.
I think we can safely say now that Thomas de Gent can't find the right break. For years on end, commentators would say, "Oh, Thomas de Gent's in the break. This one will last." I don't think he found a winning break for his 2 Grand Tours. Great rider, unbelievable follow on Twitter for those that follow Thomas de Gent. He's very entertaining. But
he also had to give up He had to give up a stage victory at the Giro when he had his movie star bro there, and he just didn't want him to win. He just do anything to let Ganna win, and not his movie star mate.
The quote: "I'm going to do everything I can to not let him win." So he did give that one away. He was in the right move, but
the tour could have been a lot more if Gilbert and Degenkolb didn't get injured, and potentially win a couple more stages. That were good enough. Caleb and Wellens help him probably to a 6.
Yep. I round him out as a 7. Solid year. Because of what Campbell said, good runs.
Yeah.
Movie star. 2018, 25 wins. 2019, 21 wins. 2020, 2 wins.
That's a theme here, isn't it?
And 1 came late in the piece, and that was the only.
It's the same rider, isn't
it? That's so lean.
I doing my research for this, I somehow skipped over Movie Star, and when you told me pre-show that they've had 2 wins, I couldn't actually believe it. But yeah, Marc Soler, a stage at the Vuelta, and then a race back in February, a pre-season friendly, if you will, in the Spanish islands. So, yeah, for them, massive team. Like, you're reeling off their wins in previous years. This is obviously an outlier, but a bit of concern for them, I imagine, at the pre-season camp in December. How are we going to find some wins in 2021?
2 fifths is relatively promising with Enric Mas. But I don't have a positive thing to say about Movistar, to be honest. Although they did light up the Volta for no reason at all. For some reason, they went on the front, even when they had been in the break. I hope they make another Netflix doco on the Volta, because I don't think anyone knows what they were doing. I'm not sure if it was the last mountain stage, or the second last mountain stage, but they sent Soler into the break that he missed, and then they jumped on the front, and Soler ended up not having legs. It was sorry, it helped me. David Gaudu won the stage, and it was in my pocket. But.
You're right. You're right. There's a 5th on the general at the Tour de France, which is great. And he backed it up at the Vuelta, so it's promising, but not a whole lot in the WK column. So 3, maybe less.
What's their budget though?
I gave him a 1.
Their budget.
Yeah,
I'm thinking. They've got so much
give
money.
me the budget, Campbell.
17 mil, about middle of the pack.
I can't run from a white jersey and not give them a 3. They're not as bad as CCC and Confidence.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I know, Alex, it's only 2 wins, but the 2 top 5s on the general in the Grand Tours, it's got to be respected.
Are we on Enric Mas
Nope.
as much as Contador is?
I'm on him, but again, I don't know whether he's that top tier GC rider. I think the podiums are possible, but I don't know if he's a GC Grand Tour winner. I have my concerns.
Max?
No, I'm not. I'm not on Mass. The best he looked, but he doesn't have that punch. He had a little break. Forgive me, I don't know the climb, the infamous climb in the Volta. He had that little break, and then was just pegged back when Hugh Carthy attacked, and then Carapaz came over the top. But if they do land another rider at some point, it doesn't look like they got one for 2021 at this stage. But another rider, he's great for to have as a dual leader.
Valverde's going around again next year.
How old is he now?
90. He's 40. He's going to be turning 41.
Yeah, I mean, it defines Movistar that they were defending 10th position on the final stage, going in the intermediate checkpoint that Vlasov was trying to steal, and Valverde was on his wheels holding on to 10th.
Well, like Adam said in the comments, they won the teams class as well, which they love. It'll be Valverde's 20th season as a professional.
I'm an Alejandro fan. I reckon he's an absolute star, workhorse, and lights up cycling races. I'm just not sure if he still does that now.
NTT. Rumours, or Doug's saying that he potentially has a sponsor. Potentially saved the squad. I think back to January and Tour Down Under, and I was starting to get somewhat excited about this squad. Remember when Zolo won that stage, and they actually rode as a team, and we were like, "Oh, yeah."
Lucas Hamilton, I remember, tore the bunch up that climb, and then NTT come over the top. Everyone with Nizzolo working as a team, cohesive unit. He comes back, Nizzolo wins the stage, and you're right. I was also getting quite excited, Alex. But
that was the first time ever, well, not ever, but since MTT days. And then Nizzolo kept going, made Max some money, and then it kind of fell apart a bit for me.
All the way into our boy in the Giro. Which, to be fair, the Giro win came at a very good time, because I think NTT was almost bust. And not looking like getting another sponsor at the Giro. And then Ben O'Connor sort of lit it up, as Pozzovivo was as well, and they were a little bit of a talk. And I think you sort of alluded at the start, Alex, that may have found a sponsor, but I think the Giro might have saved it, to be fair.
Well, Ben O'Connor, he put the responsibility on himself and was just getting after it in the third week. Saying it came super close, got rolled up by Tratnik, and then the next day I went out and torched it. So maybe it was enough, but we heard Doug Ryder come out last week and say that we're pretty much secure. We'll hear, you'll hear from us in a couple of days confirming that. Still haven't heard it. So, we're getting to the middle of November and things aren't certain yet. It's a real worry for me in cycling.
It's a COVID year, though. It's a late year. I gained confidence out of who's the guy that won the stage from the Giro out of Israel?
Dowsett.
Dowsett coming out and saying, "I've signed a contract, but I'm not telling you who." Surely that's NTT. In my opinion.
know.
So I don't know if I'm reading into that too much, but I gain confidence out of that.
How do you line up those dots?
Well, because where else would he be going?
I don't know.
That's where he's going. You wait, Campbell. You wait till you see Dowsett on NTT or whatever they're called next year.
Listen,
he's on their list.
I wouldn't be signing for any team unless there was public announcement that it was going ahead. If there was still what's James Whelan talking about?
So I think he's about. I don't know if he's agreeing with me or agreeing with you. He's probably agreeing with me.
He's on the inside. He might know something that we don't, but yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be going near anything unless there was a public announcement.
What do you rate their year? What does Ben O'Connor's win and a little bit from Nizola give them?
Whatever Nizola and Ben O'Connor bring, Louis Menkes takes it back from behind.
Thought you were going to go a bit easier, Max.
No, I personally give him a 4. I do remember the Cadell race, and then Giacomo early on in the year. I know the Italian World Champs wasn't necessarily for NTT, but and the Euros. I'm getting 4.
Yeah, 4 as well. I think Ben O'Connor's win bumps him up at least 1 point.
Yep.
James Whelan's agreeing with you, Alex. So maybe there's something to your madness.
I am onto something here. You heard it here first. Team Jumbo Visma.
Sherlock Holmes over here.
Primos just picked up 11 wins this season. He may have missed out on one almighty win, but he did take home 11 wins and a Grand Tour, which it just amazes me how that guy is still going. How he strung together a welter, I don't know. I don't understand it. It's not. He must be the mentally the strongest person in the world.
Just not strung one together. 4 stage wins.
It dominated.
It was incredible, and like we said after the tour, we were like, if he doesn't ride for the rest of the year, it'd be no surprise. I mean, just to get over that hurdle of the Tour de France saga in the TT, to come back and do that, and then also won Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Yeah, incredible.
He makes it's interesting with Jumbo that they win the Vuelta second in the Tour and a DNF in the Giro. That doesn't look good for them. I'm not sure how they were. I'm not sure how they were going with Kruijswijk. Or to be fair, he did have COVID, but he was getting dropped up the hills. I'd be getting dropped up the hills if I had COVID. Georgie Bennett, the one-day classic rider for Jumbo Visma, with a first and a second in Lombardy, and where was the other one? The one that he won.
A couple of days before, yeah. The name.
I don't know the name. We know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they weren't as strong as what we all thought they'd be in the Tour and the Volta. We all thought that Dumoulin and Seb Kuss wouldn't be able to be touched, and Roglic would be able to just ride to his victory. But there were some cracks in them. It makes for an amazing battle with Ineos next year. And then chuck in the guys from other teams like Pogacar. But the best thing about Roglic's Volta win is Carapaz beats him on total time, but the bonus seconds gets him the win, which is what cycling should be. And I love the fact that you get 10 seconds bonus times for crossing the line, and that makes people attack, and it creates a great cycling race.
I'm pleased you said that, Max, because I know Campbell hates it.
Really? So you reckon Carapaz should be the winner?
I think so. I think that, time from point A to point B, the quickest there should be the winner. That's my opinion. But
then he sits on wheels the whole way.
Again, that's part of the sport.
Okay, so you're more of a purist.
Possibly. If you
Yeah,
were
you
Big
watch
star.
you watch Bat- you watch
Big
you watch
star.
Bathurst all day from 9 till 6 rather than the top 10 shootout.
Just to add to Primos, there was also a win at Strada Bianchi and Milan San Remo, and then two stages in the Tour from Woot as well. So massive victories, the right type of runs. I'm giving them a 10, even though they fell a little bit short at the Tour de France. I still think it was a 10, best team performance of the season.
So I've just got some hot off the press Melbourne trade news. It seems like we're 55 minutes before trade period ends here, and it seems like we're conjuring something up. We've already got Ben Brown, who was, I thought, our only target, but we've just traded with Brisbane. We've now got pick 18 and pick 19 in this year's draft, and we've given out pick 25 in next year's first round. So we're stocking up picks. Are we about to do something? Are we about to come in late for Jeremy Cameron and change our whole forward line?
We have breaking news on this podcast.
But Jumbo, they equal with Quickstep with 10. The Tour performances easily get the exact same score as what Quickstep did throughout the year.
Yeah.
Also,
Just
Wood Van Aert. I know.
Alex.
I'm just going to talk about Wood for a sec. I know. It was no surprise that he was so good. But I think last year it was like him and Matthew. Matthew probably got the upper hand with his Amstel win that was just out of control. Like people couldn't stop talking about it. But Wood Van Aert this year was wild. He was out of control.
Yeah.
And cemented his authority on the road.
We hardly saw the other sort of sprinters, as you call it, in their group. Obviously, Groenewegen and Mark Teunissen. Although Teunissen's more of a one day, he just had a great sprint in the Tour last year and got himself in the yellow jersey, I think. But yeah, so imagine if Groenewegen gets back in there at some point. I don't think they can take him to a Tour, but it'd be interesting to see if he can get a stage win around it in Giro or Vuelta.
Yeah. Also, just on Woot, his performance at the Worlds was off chops too, which doesn't really count for Jumbo, but we're gonna lump it in there. Just quickly, something that Max will like is one of your favourites, Sam Oomen, is heading to Jumbo next year to add to their climbing stock. So hopefully he can find a little spot in that group.
He'll be maybe sixth in the first domestique, potentially right on the flats with Tony Martin, with the climbing squad they have. The thing with Wout and Mathieu is no one wants them in their group. So as we saw late in those classics and those one-day rides, if Wout and Mathieu were in the group, no one else would ride, and it'd become this incredible race. And then if one of them got up the road and the other one didn't, they weren't bringing them to each other. So it was just the two of them riding. It was unbelievable to watch.
The Gent-Wevelgem was the best example of that, where it was just a mess. They marked each other out of it. No one was working with them. And Pedersen just was the third dog and came and took the bone.
I gave him a 9.5.
Why the 9.5? What does the Tour wasn't
didn't convert on the Tour?
Can I ask quickly
for a 10? For a 10,
yeah.
Is Roglic their leader for 2 of the 3 again? And then is it not Kruijswijk? Is it a Dumoulin or Seb Kuss this time that would lead up a Giro?
You know how there was all this talk around like Alberto and those bros, like can they go back to back? Can they win the Giros and the Tour, or can they do 2 Grand Tours in a year? Is Primoz the guy? Is he the guy to do 2 Grand Tours?
Well, Froome went back to back. I think he did I think he's done the Tour of Vuelta, but I don't think anyone since 1999, when Pantani did it, or 1998, has done the Giro Tour double. Like that's what it's all about. Contador did try it. I think Froome's tried it. Maybe Primoz is the guy to try it in this new age of cycling, but I think it's just been proven that it's just so mighty hard to do it because there's so little time between the two.
I was hearing somewhere that they may have the Volta stay in this time slot and the Tour go back to its normal July, which would lead, therefore, to be able to have a fair few classics in this little period of one-day races, which then would make pretty much the Tour field will be the Volta field. Everyone would just go to both, which I reckon is a good thing. I reckon if they can space out, and it'll be in the best interests of either the Giro or the Volta to get further away from the Tour. And the Volta looks like the one that can handle the weather in what month were we racing? We're in October.
Yeah, November even, really.
Yeah.
Which is in the best interest for the ASO, both owners of the Tour and the Vuelta, having the hottest guys going to both races.
Correct.
I don't mind it. Except it doesn't need to be 3 weeks.
Yeah. Then you'd have the leader, you'd have the winner of the Giro probably facing up against the winner of the Tour at the Volta.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. Team Sunweb.
They were good.
Relative
they
to
were
expectations, massive year. They just bred winning after they had a hot Tour, Hershey, Sorensen, and then a really solid Giro with Jai Hindley and Wilco coming to the party. Any major thoughts?
Did Matthews win anything?
Yeah, he won the Bretagne Classic.
So 16 victories and only 1 from Matthews. If you had said that at the start of the year, I'm not sure if Bowl won any as well. So they're 2 sort of sprinters.
He won 1. He won a stage of Algarve.
So two of those for sprinters. The rest are all opportunist stage wins, which, I mean, they lit up the Volta and the Giro as well, and that they weren't as successful there as the Tour, but they were in breaks. And I said when I was on before that I'm quite bullish about one of the young fellas in Arensman, potentially to do some things over the next few years. But they're gonna potentially get a 7 or an 8 off me. And really
Here we go.
And they don't have apart from Hershey, who's the new kid on the block, they don't really have a top 20 rider.
Yeah, like we always talk about at the start of the Tour de France, we didn't know what they were doing, what their plan was, and they go out and win 3 stages, and they go to the Giro. Jai's one of the best climbers there, wins a stage, second on the general. Wilco was also on the podium in Milan. And then, Hershey also took the chocolates at Flèche Wallonne. So for me, I think I'm probably going to give him an 8, given pre-season expectations. Definitely an 8 as a minimum.
Question here from Luca: will Hindley stay? I think so.
I think he's got the chance to be their man going forward for the next 5 years.
Well, does the inclusion of Bardet what does that do?
I don't think I'd be too worried about Bardet if I was Jai. You're only as good as your last performance, aren't you?
And what was Bardet's last performance? Didn't he cry over one of the last classics?
I don't know.
DNF at the Tour.
I know where I'd rather put my my stocks into Jai Hindley.
Max, what are you giving them?
I'm going 8 as well.
8. I gave him an 8.5. Super year, based off what I was expecting. I was expecting not a whole lot. Trek Segafredo. They've delivered Richie to a podium. Finally. Big news. Mads had the world's jersey for a bit stiff to get it in a COVID year where he only really gets to wear it for part of the year, but Mads was good. They're the
What did he
two
win? He won
stories, aren't they?
Loop and Ghent-Wevelgem, 2 big races. Like you said, Worlds jersey for a lot of the year. He was also super at the Tour de France for Richie. Richie winning TDU and then third at the Tour. Some good results. But yeah, without those two, what do you talk about? Without
We got to be
Richie, all
careful.
nothing.
We have to be careful just because Richie has delivered that we don't overrate Trek Segafredo, who, to be fair, should have hung up the DNF flag in the Volta. They should have tried to get COVID to stop whatever was going on in the Volta for them. Cohen de Court, my man on the ground, who hasn't had a stage win since he was 19 years of age, and I think I'm quicker in a sprint. He was their lead sprinter going into the last 3 stages. They blew up completely.
No, I think that was probably the reality check that we needed. Thanks, Max. Just to check ourselves. We were getting a little bit excited about Richie Porte and the third in the Tour de France, which is massive. Let's not underplay that. But you're right. Without that, you're kind of looking down the barrel of an AG2R maybe type of season. So,
Well, if you take Richie and Mads out, it's a 0.
well, you could say that about a lot of teams. If you take Demar out, it's a 0. If you take some other examples, if you take Primoz out, it's a 5.
It's a 9.
It's a 9.2.
Primoz the best example. 6.8. I'm gonna give him a 6.8. Yeah,
interesting. Yeah, Richie, unbelievable ride. It got me through the Tour. Watching that, the time trial to finish was something special. But apart from that, Jasper Stuyven, poorish year for him.
he was the one. He was the one that actually won Umloop. Jasper won.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Sorry. It wasn't.
And to be fair, did they perform well in Australia at the start of the year?
Port with stage 3 and also the general.
Yeah. But I'll go. Vincesco, his heart in the Giro gets me to 4.
4. We'll add something. I'll add something as well. Your man, Moschetti, also picked up a couple of wins in the pre-season friendlies in Spain. So
wasn't that heartbreaking seeing him leaving the Volta?
A 4. That's.
And all four points are going. Actually, that's harsh on Pedersen. All 3.5 are going to Richie, and then but Richie's actually finishing the top 10 cyclists in the world this year as well.
Last
so I'm
chance
going to give him a 5.
reevaluate.
I'm going to give him a 5.
I gave him a 7.
Yeah,
I do understand Max's reality, but that was solid. I didn't expect Richie to finish on the podium. Oh, Hart wanted him to, but my head didn't at the start of the year. Last team, UAE Emirates. Budget-wise, Cambo, can we just check in where they're at?
Yeah, mate. I'll give you a quick update on that one. Where are we at? Well, just have a guess. So 1 to 20, where you think they add up. Ineos being 1, Israel being 20.
I'm pretty sure they're 2.
Do you want to have a guess, Alex, quickly?
Alex, I think they're number 1.
They're number 2. Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
So they are at the pointy end. And up until this year, there's probably been some questions what that money's doing.
Well, it was going to Fabio Aru.
Yes, good point. 33 wins, Tour de France, 4 stages at the Tour, 2 stages at the Giro, a stage at the Vuelta. The right type of runs, big runs. That's sort of, that's away runs. That's away centuries in England at the Ashes. It's the big runs. 9.5.
Mate, they were hitting runs in India. They were doing everything.
I know. Is 9.5 a little bit unders, or am I being on the money?
Well,
gave it
where
10.
can we go? Where can we go elsewhere out of the tour?
Like I said, the two stage wins at the Giro with Ulysses, and the one at the Vuelta. But this sport, it's all about the tour. If you can deliver at the tour, you're gonna get a lot of points off us, which is what everyone's looking to do.
Yeah, you're convincing me. Gaviria and Christoph were relatively disappointing from a sprinting point of view, but although Christoph stage one,
Max,
was
you
superb.
forget Christoph won the opening stage. They had the jersey at the start.
Yeah, actually.
Also, Primoz, not Primoz. They picked up 3 stages of the tour in total. So, like 3 stages of the tour and the win.
Four, no.
Who was their 4th? How did he get?
Bodjakar picked up 3.
4 stages
And
of the
Christoph.
tour. There you go.
Yeah.
That's a perfect year.
And then not to mention Philipsen's great win in stage 15 on the Volta. For those playing at home, I also he was part of my David Gadu bet at one point, Philipsen. 50-1 they had him, stage 15. 50-1, can you believe it?
It's value. It's value.
I can explain my logic. He in the sprint that Primoz won a stage that was a sprint finish, and it wasn't too hilly. Philipsen was in that kick, but Ackerman and Bennett had been dropped. So I had a feeling that Philipsen was potentially going to get over the hills and just time his run a little bit better than what he did when Primoz beat him in a head-up sprint. So for that, I'm giving them a 10.
So, did you just give out 3 10s, Max?
I'm a bit of tongue-in-cheek with UAE. I'm going back to a 9.
So what's your podium?
A dual first with Jumbo and Quickstep, which I see a lot around the news as the cycling season finishes. A lot of people can't split those 2 teams. They're not far away from points. I think Quickstep's on top in terms of team rankings, but the Grand Tour form from Jumbo gets them to equal 1, and then UAE was 3rd, and the only 8 I gave out, I'm pretty sure was Team Somewhere, but 4th.
Yep.
I don't think I can disagree with that.
Mm.
Do we want to do a quick top 3 of riders, individual riders for the season? I'll start off. Roglic, number 1. Pogačar, number 2. And Wout van Aert, number 3.
You just want to go directly off the rankings? Is that your tactic?
No, it wasn't. That wasn't directly off the rankings.
Max, what do you got?
Well, obviously they are the top 3.
Come and disagree with me.
I'd like to chuck in a couple of more names. Just
I
so
want to know. I want to know who busts into this top 3.
Well, the only other names that you could potentially put in is Arnaud Demar and Mathieu Van der Poel. But Van der Poel got nowhere near what Van Aert did. So those are the 3. But in a close 4th is Arnaud Demar. And because he's my favourite rider and he's from my home country, George Bennett had an incredible year for himself. So I'm giving him 5th.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'd put Pogačar at number 1. Is my only change. I know Arno won a lot. Like, he won a lot of races. That he won at the wrong race. If he was at the Tour, then yeah. I think Wout van Aert.
Talking the Giro was hot. He was up against Viviani.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Who about bottom 3?
Oh, jeez, didn't prepare for this.
Well, to be fair, you didn't prepare for the top 3.
Viviani's got to be in there.
Yeah, Viviani for sure.
Viviani. Yeah, Viviani's one.
Aru at the bottom.
Were we really expecting a lot from him?
There was that one point when he got away from the peloton and held a minute gap for the middle 40k of a stage. That was the best part of his season.
Didn't it come out that he was one of the top? Yeah, it didn't come out that he was top 10 rider, the paid rider in the World Tour or something wild like that.
Correct. Yeah. So I mean, given salary compared to results, perhaps he was in the bottom three.
I'd like to put some failed GC hopes in there. Like Thibaut probably deserves to go in.
Mm-hmm.
Esteban. I mean, I'm coming for Esteban, the smiling man, or whatever they call him. But I mean, his tour was worse than his Volta, and his Volta was bad.
How do we feel about the UCI? Besides the fact they pulled together the UCI pulled together the unthinkable by getting through all bar Paris really in a COVID year, which I find awfully impressive, amazing. But then they were also shocking at so many things. Safety.
All the other really poor safety early on in the kickstart of the season. The helicopter taking out someone in the peloton, I forget who that was pretty crazy. I mean, motorists, motorbikes in accidents, motorbikes all getting COVID. There was a lot going on, but for such a tough year to be able to pull that through, and the Volta had 0 cases, the Tour had 0 cases. All the one-day rides basically had 0 cases, a couple leading into them at times. I think it was a tremendous effort. And as a cycling fan, that's as connected as I've felt from Australia at a really bad hour to watch races. That's as connected as I've felt watching cycling. It's probably because it was all jam-packed, to be fair. So I give the cycling calendar this year a massive tick.
I think there's a lot of I don't know, just this year with all the big races being really the only races that were raced, to have it more like a Formula One season where it's just like all the big races, all the World Tour teams are going to each race. If cycling can get like that, where every World Tour team just goes to the big World Tour races, and sort of just leave the other smaller races for the smaller teams, I think that's a good direction for cycling to be going in.
Well, I mean, we had the direct conflict with a couple of one-day rides being during the Giro and Tour, which led to some cyclists not being able to come to some of these Grand Tour races. But then we also saw at their peak Primoz riding was a Flesh and almost taking it out of their hands, and Pogacar was there as well. It was. I do agree. To get every World Tour team to every World Tour race would be exciting. I mean, that would mean Mathieu Van der Poel wouldn't be in the race.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, that is one of the good things about cycling, is that we can have these smaller teams come in and get results. So, I mean, there's no perfect way to go about it, but I think just the less races and the better riders at more races is the direction.
I think that's it. I think that's the wrap of the year.
We've done it.
Unless you got any final words.
Don't think so. I'll be keeping my ear close to the ground with this NTT and Alex Dowsett move.
You just wait,
cycling's in a great space. They 3 Grand Tours under a minute. There's no Froome dominance as there has been in past years. Anyone can win up until the last day. Teams that aren't Ineos can have a shot at winning Grand Tours. That's where I was getting at with the cycling fan. Like it's honestly right at its peak right now, and hopefully that carries on to next year.
And it doesn't get much better when you're winning Grand Tours off time bonuses when it's coming down to the sprint.
I'm surprised Carapaz wasn't your best rider of the year. He's probably winning in terms of GC throughout the whole year.
Thank you, boys.
Thanks, Campbell. Thanks, Max.
Thanks, lads.
We'll be back in some manner soon. Thanks for listening in.